Let's take a look at how Sigma Excel can help you estimate the sample size for your project. In this case, let's take a scenario where you are working on a project to reduce patient wait time in order to see a doctor. In the defined step in your voice of the customer, they said they are willing to wait up to 20 minutes. You could measure this in a discrete fashion by looking at the percentage of patients that waited too long. That would simply be count data. And when reporting discrete data like that, you have to be able to live with some form of margin of error, and we'll live with a 2% margin of error. What does that mean? That means in your study, if you say 70%, 70% of the patients waited too long, that means the true answer for the population of all patients would be somewhere from 70 plus or minus 2%, 68 to 72%. The templates in Sigma Excel we'll look at today use a confidence interval-based method. There are more sophisticated templates and calculators that you can use, but we'll focus on these simple ones today. Alternatively, you could measure this in a continuous fashion by studying the average patient wait time. The question for us is, how many patients should we sample? We simply go to Sigma Excel. We'll go to Statistical Tools, Basic Statistical Templates, and you'll see there are two templates, one for discrete, one for continuous. We'll start with the discrete data. I'll make it a little larger for you. Here you can see it asks us to estimate the proportion of patients that are waiting too long. We have no idea what that number is. So look at footnote number 1 in row 17. Use 0.5 if you don't know. Let's say you've done a study in the past and you had a number. You could plug that in. But in this case, we're going to assume 50% or 0.5 because we don't know. Down here it asks us, what is your desired margin of error? That's set at 0.03, 3%. We're willing to live with a 2% margin of error, so we put our cursor in there and type 0.02. The population size is optional, and the 95% tells us that this is based on a 95% confidence interval. It further tells us to go sample 2,401 patients. That's a lot of patients. You might say, look, we're a small practice. We don't see that many patients in a month. So what you can do in that instance is say our population size is small. We're a small practice. We don't have a lot of patients. Say we have 1,000 patients. We type that in, and it adjusts that number for a small population. It tells you if you only have 1,000 patients in your practice, sample 706 of those. Discrete data requires very large sample sizes. Let's study this same situation, but assume that we're going to look at this in a continuous fashion using average patient wait time. Let's see what happens then. We go back to Sigma Excel, Statistical Tools, Basic Statistical Templates, Sample Size Continuous, and another calculator comes up. I'll make that a little larger for us. Down here, it says, estimate your standard deviation. Well, let's say you don't know what that is. You've got a couple choices. One is to just run a small sample for a day or two. Take the data, run the sample through descriptive statistics, look at that standard deviation, and plug it in here as your estimate. Let's say we've done that, and our particular standard deviation is, let's say, 3. Down here, when it says half interval or desired margin of error, what this means is if you're reporting back the average wait time for a patient and you say that it's 16 minutes, this half interval width is saying that it's really between 15.75 minutes and 16.25 minutes. Let's say we're okay with a half interval width of up to a minute. So we say that, and it goes down and tells us to sample 35 patients. That is a lot less than 706 patients. This is why green belts and black belts love continuous data. If you can use continuous data at all in your project, it will make your sample size much smaller. That leads to faster, less costly projects. So go for continuous. Do remember that these tools are here to provide a rough estimate of what you should do. They are not going to make the decisions for you, but they will advise your decisions and give you some rough numbers as to where you should be sampling. Let's say it's 3 months from now. You're doing your project and you don't remember what was on this video. Here's all you have to do. Go to Sigma Excel, go to Help, select the Sigma Excel Guide, and that will bring up your Sigma Excel user manual. From there, you can go down, look through the table of contents, pick up the information on the sample size calculations, and that will guide you through in much more detail than we did in this video. Good luck with your sample sizes.